Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 52. Hello, and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson, and I'm here with Julian Pombo. How's it going?
Hi. Yeah, it's fine. Just fine.
Just fine.
Dandy.
It looks like you've had another turnaround in your room.
Nothing special.
Or is it just mirrored?
No, it's still the same. I've got my camera is up a little bit.
Ah, okay.
So
and it's mirrored. It's mirrored
just
image
to make me look a little bit better.
I thought you'd moved out for a second.
Let me.
Oh, he's not going to flip it again.
Let me fix that. Is that better?
No, because that's not real. Whoa! For the podcast people, this is not entertaining at all. What he's doing is he's flipping the mirror back and forward and making me dizzy. Oh, he's zooming right in his forehead now. It's a beautiful forehead. Well, that's the thumbnail sorted.
This is why you should subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So you can see me being annoying. Basically.
So,
anyway,
fantastic intro.
Yeah, man.
So,
how are you doing?
I'm fine.
How's life on the farm?
Oh, fantastic. I had no water there for a couple of days. Just the weather got a wee bit cold and it likes to freeze pipes, and so we've got no gas and no water, and it's all good.
Hashtag farm life.
Hashtag caravan. So yeah, we have to leave like taps running, because if we don't, the pipes just freeze up and burst as well. So there's got to be taps running all the time. It's fine now. The temperatures went back up again. But yeah, fun times.
Oh, it's been pretty chilly.
Insulation is well underrated, mate.
Yeah, man. Insulation's awesome.
It certainly is.
You heard it here first, folks.
Absolutely. So, following on from last week's episode, which was great. If you haven't checked it out, it was the interview with Bradley Smith.
Yeah, that was a good episode. I really enjoyed that one.
Because
it was really interesting.
It's not necessarily about music. It's a kind of sister genre of creative endeavors. It's graphic design is such an important part of music, even though it isn't music itself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was good to have someone on who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about online presence. So I'll tell you how this ties in. So the term online presence is probably the most overused phrase on the internet. You hear it all the time. To the point where it's become meaningless. It's like, oh, how's your online presence? Oh, you need to get your online presence up. It's like, right, okay, what does this mean? It's a buzzword. It's one of those internet buzzwords, one of those sort of promotional business buzzwords. So we're going to try and break down what we think it should mean in terms of like bands and stuff, because they always hear like, oh, you need to increase your online presence. It's a big issue right now. So following on from last week's episode, we'll talk about it in the context of graphic design. So online presence it's your outward view, outward look, to the public. If you were a member of the public looking at your band, your online presence is what they see of you. So we'll talk about, once you get your graphic designs from your graphic designer, what are you going to do with them? So this is the stage that you implement those designs and put them into use in a practical sense. And that ties heavily into online presence, because you're going to need to rely heavily on graphic design and just your overall look. So when you make big changes to your outward appearance as a band, your first rule of thumb should always be to think about it from the perspective of an outsider looking in. And should also clarify that the actual making of the graphic design, like the creation of it, or the creation of the music, or the actual product, should be a creative thing for yourself. You're not creating it for someone, you're creating it for yourself and the things that you like. That we say this all the time. But the actual distribution of the art, that's the presentation of it on your online presence or the presentation of your music, that action should be for the audience. It's not for you. You're taking the art that you've made and you're presenting it to an audience. So you should think in terms of audience when you're actually distributing the art. That's the graphic design, the music, the actual product. You should always have the customer in mind, the audience. Try not to get those two things mixed up, because bands often do get them mixed up, where they make music for an audience. No, you make music for yourself and you distribute it for an audience. There's a difference. You can get real big problems in bands when you start to blur those lines. So all of this, taking into account your music and your art, and you want to put these new graphic designs into practice for your online presence. Where are you going to put them? So you've got these shiny new designs. What are you going to do with them? So I've put down a couple of things. Shout out some if you can think of any. So first obvious one, album artwork. That's your front cover of your CD, your EP, your online art, vinyl, whatever it happens to be that's associated with that album.
Yeah.
Your Instagram posts, stories, just the whole aesthetic of your Instagram. I want to talk a little bit about Instagram just shortly. Your website design as well. Your Spotify page, a lot of people overlook that. And your YouTube channel and your Bandcamp page. And usually with your new designs, the new designs usually come around when you're doing a new album or EP cycle. So you're currently in like EP 1 release or album 2 release sort of schedule. And it's usually like a year long where you're in the release part of your album and the gigging part of your album, you know, when gigs are allowed, of course. Your online presence should be thought of, if someone was to look you up, they should know immediately what stage you're in. Oh, I can see that this band is in, you know, album 2 cycle mode. So they've released this thing 3 months ago, and they've all their social medias, their web page and everything, it's all aesthetically in that mode. So I don't know if you can think of any others. TikTok.
The only thing the thing I could think of was, well, merch. You should always be designing new merch.
Yep.
All the time, or coming up with alternate designs. One of my favorite things that I'm kind of borrowing this from different YouTubers that I know. Like they just have limited edition merch all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's this glow in the dark hoodie, you know, like, and then we're only selling 30 of these, so buy them before they're gone, or you know, things like that, and just constantly, reimagining them. It's funny, like I suppose this kind of goes in. I mean, it's level up your band, but you're doing so many different kinds of jobs. You're an entrepreneur. You're a fashion designer, technically. You know,
kind of, yeah.
You wouldn't have thought you were, but you kind of are, because you're having to make things that people will actually wear.
Yeah. Well, that's the argument we make. Is like these jobs used to be dished out to members of a label, and our argument is we now have the online tools to do it ourselves. For a long time, you can do this and you can get pretty damn successful and pretty damn well known before you even need to sign to a label. There are bands who have tens of thousands of followers and tour, and they do everything themselves. They get to a point where it's like, we can't manage this. It's just too much to manage. Then they sign with a label. That's the whole sort of premise of this podcast, is that you and you alone can level up your band to the point where it's so leveled up that you can't even handle it. Then you get someone else to come in and help you. That's what you want. That's the ideal situation you want to be in, is to be so busy with the admin stuff that you have to hire someone, and that you can afford to hire someone because you're actually making an income on all the different things that you offer. And the best sort of way of doing that is getting the word out, and that is effectively online presence. And it takes great graphic design, just professionalism, cohesion across all the platforms. It's so important. So we've got 5 steps. This episode is called 5 Steps Towards Leveling Up Your Band's Online Presence. So the 5 steps I have jotted down here. Number 1, does it all look active?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first step. Make it look active. And what I mean by that is, when you go across all the different platforms, is there dead content from 2 albums ago that's still on the front page? It hasn't been updated in ages. You know, you go on the Facebook, the Instagram, the, I don't know, Snapchat, OnlyFans, just go all across the platforms, right? And you see one of them or 2 of them is like, oh, this is like from 2017. There's been no, like, everything else is doing one thing, and then you go into another set of platforms, it's like a totally different band. It's got to all move together. So that's one thing. I had to think about that for the studio, because there's so many different platforms you have to think about as if you own a business. You've got like yellow pages. You've got your website. You've got all your socials. You've got what's that one called? Yelp. Yeah, you've got just endless. There's so many different platforms, and see trying to keep on top of them all, it's a pain. But if they're all together and they're all cohesive, it says more. It says it's a much more professional thing. You go, oh wow, this is really good. There's nothing worse than going on a website and going, oh, this looks like it was designed in 2004, you know, on a Windows XP computer.
Yeah, I had a running actually. Yeah, it's always a bad look. And if you do have a website that's dead, take it down. I won't mention who it is.
Okay.
We're looking for a certain service for Rachel and I's wedding, and the guy that we looked up had 2 separate websites. And we were like, okay. So which one is
the official?
Which one's your main one? Like, and one of them looked like super outdated, like not very nice.
Yeah.
Actually didn't have any nice pictures. And then we had a look at the second one, a million times better. It had clearly been designed on something like Wix or Squarespace.
Right.
One of those 2. But, you know, it does make a big difference. It actually made me kind of skeptical until I actually looked at the second page, and I was like, no, this is clearly where they're
Did you tell them that?
doing most of their work. I might ask them about it.
That's a huge service to do that for someone. If you're working with someone, you've chosen to work with them, and you can confess to them going, by the way, I was on your website. Did you know that this is a thing that is, and it nearly put me off. It could be putting off other people. That he would be, or she would be, so thankful if you told them that. I would be, certainly, if someone went, oh, you've got another webpage that's like dead. It's like 3 years old and it looks terrible. Like, I went to that one first and nearly never bothered booking. I would want to know that. In that situation, if you've got a band page that's 5 years old and it's on another domain, just
Yep.
reroute the domain. So what you do is say you've got a yourbandname.net and a yourbandname.com, and you're currently using the .com one, but the .net one is still up. What you can do is tell the .net to link to the .com. So when they land on your .net, it just forwards them onto .com, and shut the old page down. Because you could say, I need to keep the old page up because we still get traffic on that one. Well, good. That means that you can fire them onto the new page and just turn the old page off. Makes sense. So yeah, does it all look active? And if not, make it active. Go onto those old pages, those old accounts that still gets traffic, and update it with all your new graphic designs. Make it all cohesive and the same. Number 2 is the design language consistent. So what I mean by that is, does it look like the same band on all platforms? So when you go on Spotify and you open a tab and have it on one side of the screen, and you open up your Instagram and it's the same band and put it on the right hand side of the screen, and you look at the two things together, could you go, oh yeah, this is just an extension of this band. This is just, you can see where the grand picture is. Does this all link together? And if it doesn't have the same design language, then you've got problems. Now, design language is using design to tell a story or a message or to convey something. So I'll give you an example. In like architecture, designers and architects, they use things like lighting to tell a story about the space. So I don't know if you knew this, that you have different brightnesses of light, and it will tell you subconsciously what the space is used for. So super bright lights are usually for like working environments, or for example, imagine a diner with super bright lights. So that's kind of a slightly lower end spectrum, just a come in quickly, eat your dinner and go home, kind of like McDonald's.
Yeah,
McDonald's is super bright.
Doesn't want you to settle down.
It doesn't want you to settle down. It wants you to be in, eat your sandwich and out, like McDonald's, like Subway. But if you want to go to a fancy restaurant, it's dim lighting. They want you to sit in and relax and have a good time and a good experience. So that's design language. It's little cues, little design cues in the sort of realm that you occupy, and it's little subtle messages telling you how to behave or what to do in a certain situation.
Yep. You can try it in your house.
Yeah, it's really good.
Try some design language in your house with some lighting.
It's really interesting.
So honestly, it's so important. Yeah, that's why I never put the big light. Maybe that's why I don't get that much work done, because I never put the big light on. So I'm never like, Yeah. I'm joking. But yeah, I'm never a huge fan of like super bright lights in the house. Lamps all the way.
It's different in a studio. Like my room has very low light in the studio.
Yeah, in your control room, but the actual room itself.
I think like super bright lights in a studio, it kind of squashes creative
I mean,
juices.
I've been in some studios that are like
super bright,
super dim. Like you go in and you're like, it takes your eyes like a minute to sort of adjust and your pupils to dilate and actually take in the information.
Yep. I think for rehearsal studios, it's quite cool to have bright lights. I think it's important to not be too comfy in rehearsals, because you end up just procrastinating and talking rubbish for an hour. We've all been in bands like that where you take an hour to set up because you're just chatting about your week, and then you've only got 2 hours left of the session. You haven't played a song yet. Hate that.
If you play with boomers, they like to complain about their wives and kids.
Yes, that's so true. Wait, that's the only reason why they're in bands. Anyway, how did we get onto this? Design language. So in the context of a band, like band aesthetic or band graphic design, if you're depending on what you're doing. So your design language, you can use these graphic designs to do different things. So, for example, you could have a certain artwork for your EP, which is consistent across all the different platforms. But you could also have something like a band logo, which says, "This is us. This is me." That's telling you and telling the audience, the listener, the viewer, oh, this must be part of their new cycle because I can see the logo. It ties it all together. It's telling me, oh, okay, this is what this is. It's telling them a thing, right? Okay, I can tell what this is. And it's a good example of design language. I've referenced this before. Fergus McCready's new release, where he's got multiple pictures of rocks with white background.
Yep.
Now, all the rocks are different, but you can see that on any platform. It doesn't matter what rock it is. You know it's Fergus's album because it's in your head now. It's like he's got this language, this style that goes over the whole thing. And you can also use, this kind of leads into part 3 here. You can also use design language to get someone to do something. So that leads me on to step 3, which is, does it lead somewhere? That's your call to action. So you can use your design to push folk in a direction. Usually on a website, you have more freedom on a website to do that, because you can totally customize it to whatever you want. Whereas Facebook and Instagram is kind of on rails. It's in a grid. You can only operate by Instagram and Facebook's little site. So what do you want someone to do when they land on your website? That's an important thing. What is their call to action? And you should never have any more than one thing, on any given page. So when they land on the home page, you should be telling them to do one thing when they get there. And it's completely up to you. You could get them to watch a video, or you want them to fill out a contact form, or you want them to buy some merch. You can, it's whatever you want them to do. And you can use...
Yeah, here's our latest release, whatever.
Yeah, you can oh, here's a link to Spotify. You go and listen to it. I don't know, subscribe, all this. So you can use the design from your latest release or whatever you've got to lead folk in a certain way, in a certain direction. And I am not qualified to do these things. I know sort of bare minimum about this stuff, but if you're doing, my advice would be, if you're doing whole getting a graphic designer and getting your album artwork done and things like that, it would be cool to ask them or ask a professional how to implement the stuff on your website, because website design is tough. It's really trying to get it right is quite difficult, because it's got to survive so many different tests. The caveman test being the first one, which is imagine yourself as a caveman, and you look at the website for the first time and you go, oh, what does it do? Me don't know.
Yeah.
Click off.
Yeah. Right.
You need to know within 2 seconds what the point of this is. What's this website doing?
Yeah.
It's like if you ever watch mainstream telly now, which I never do, but occasionally it'll be on in the house, and you see some adverts on the TV, and you can literally watch a 15-second advert and not have a flipping clue what it's about, because it's some vague guy running up a mountain or something, and then it turns out it's for some fragrance.
It always is, man. It's fragrance or like coffee or something.
Yep. So I think your best bet is to ask if your graphic designer would be willing to help you design your website. And keep in mind, graphic designers tend to prefer to make it look pretty rather than make it practical. So there's a balance there as well. I mean, it's all very well having a nice looking web page, but if it doesn't do anything and it doesn't lead anyone anywhere, it's pointless. So you've got to make sure that the the website, the nice graphic design, is actually leading the person who lands on the page to actually do something, go somewhere. So, step 4, is it unique and engaging content? Is it outside the box, a little bit more eye-catching? So, a trend I've started seeing recently is instead of using a website as a landing page for the sort of hub of a band, the hub of a thing, people are now using Instagram as their landing page, their main home. And what they're doing is they're making tiled artwork. So everybody right now, I want you to stop what you're doing, or while you're listening to this episode, get on your phone, go on Instagram and look up Corto Alto, which is a perfect example of this.
Yeah. Fatsuit have done it as well.
Yes, they have, yeah.
Remember correctly.
Go and look at their Instagram, and it's, if you've been listening for a while, Liam Shortall's band.
Project.
Yeah. The artwork on his Instagram is absolutely gorgeous and genius. So it's just if you scroll up and down the thing, it's a continual art piece all the way up, and it's all tiled on the three along the bottom all the way up, and it just keeps going and going and going. It's brilliant. And whenever you need to post something, you just do it on your story, and you can post. Is it Reels? That's a thing as well.
Yeah, which is kind of Instagram's it's Facebook's take on TikTok.
Right.
They're trying to do their own TikTok, but it's Instagram Reels.
Yes.
Yeah. TikTok people. I mean, I know we don't mention it because we're practically boomers to all the other kids, but like TikTok is huge for. I know a lot of bands that are starting to use it, and not just, and they're kind of using that as almost like a supplement,
Yep.
Not necessarily. I don't know about landing page, but releasing like snippets of like their playing or whatever, like stuff like that.
Yep.
Even like sort of like song challenges, that kind of thing. They'll be like, "Yo, here, this is the riff for the song. Try and do something weird with it."
Yeah.
Music's like huge on TikTok.
Yep.
So
the
something
reason
I've been thinking about possibly attempting.
Please do,
dipping
because
my toe in it.
The reason I've not commented on it much is because I know nothing about it. I'm a millennial. Our generation was Bebo and Facebook and stuff, and like MySpace, Bebo, and Facebook was my generation.
Yeah, I'm on like the middle kind of bit between like millennials and Gen Z. Either that, or I'm just more, just because of all my friends are kind of a little bit younger than me, I'm just more involved in that kind of culture, I guess. But I don't know. But yeah, a couple of other things that I noticed which are kind of cool. One thing that came to mind that I was thinking of there. Have you heard of the band Polytheia or Polytheia?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a guy called Tim Henson is the guy who leads it. That band, guitarist. He's got a YouTube channel, but he's been doing his own YouTube channel is kind of like a hub for his band as well. So he does things like he just explains how he wrote one of the songs, and takes you through the whole project and does stuff like that. So reacting to fan covers of his band songs, that kind of a thing. If you have people doing that, it could be kind of cool. Yep.
There's no end to the creativity. I haven't delved into the realm of TikTok yet. I probably should.
You'll probably hate it.
I will hate it. I mean, I hate all the other ones as well, but I hate Facebook.
Yeah.
I think Facebook, and I think it's
I'm
all
off.
a load of rubbish.
I'm off Facebook completely. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I was like, get away.
Yeah, it's terrible. I have to have it just for all the things that happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, so is it unique? Is it engaging content? Does it say something unique to you? That's the main thing. You don't want it to look like every other band. Like we talked about that last week with the whole band photo shoot, standing against a brick wall or an industrial estate or in the middle of the Scottish Highlands.
Or next to a bit of water. That's always a classic, you know.
Or in the water even. So that's just a photography sort of reference. But the overall thing should be how can this effectively communicate the type of art we're making and also be interesting? And I would say Corto Alto is absolute perfect example of that. It's so them. It's become that's their look. You watch their videos, you listen to the music, you look at the art. It just looks so together, and the whole thing is just like, oh, well done. It's great, love it.
It does.
Cool. So
looks brilliant.
This is part 5 or step 5. This is more of a handling of the whole thing kind of step.
A quality of life thing.
Yeah. I thought this was quite important because this can really get people down. Does it have a regular and easily repeatable schedule? So this is your release schedule or your posting. So making the release schedule systematic and less time consuming for you. So what do you mean? What I mean is, I'll give you an example. I've probably used this before, but hey-ho. Back in 19 I don't know when exactly, but we're talking mid-20th century, there was a fast food, well, it wasn't fast food back then, it was just a sort of sit-in burger joint called McDonald's. And they served hamburgers and fries and all this sort of stuff, right? You might be aware of it. And they were doing okay, but they could have been doing better. And there was this guy, and I think his name was Ray Kroc. I could be wrong. Maybe Roy. It's Roy or Ray Kroc. Can't remember. Went in and says, I'm going to make this business something amazing.
Right.
It's too slow. And the guy running it was like, how do you mean it's too slow? It's fine. He's like, no, it's too slow. It's too slow. And he went into the kitchen and was like, right, I'm going to totally redesign this place and I'm going to make it the fastest service restaurant in the whole world. So what he did is he ripped the kitchen out and redesigned it. And he put and he designed it around efficiency. And he put the cooker next to the place where you pack the chips. He placed this bit over next to this bit so that they didn't have to walk. You know, he did his research and he walked and he looked, oh, that person's walking like so much to do this one job. Why don't we make that one person just stand in the one spot so they don't have to move? And it's all close by and everything's efficient. There's less walking time, blah, blah, blah. Space saving, systematic, labels. Your job is this, your job is that. Here's a little chalkboard where you can write up stuff, blah, 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 and it's easily accessible to everybody, blah, 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 tills. You know, you get the idea. To the point where you could order, he got it so efficient, you could order something from the menu and it would be in your hands in less than a minute. It was ridiculous. And he also cut back the menu as well. He basically got everything off the menu and all they served was a cheeseburger, French fries, and a milkshake. That was it. That was all they served on the menu. That was all that was on the menu. You could get a glass of water, but it wasn't on the menu. Back when it was back in the very first days of McDonald's. And what he did was he had a blueprint for this schematic way of running the business, and he sold it to anyone who wanted to buy it. And what happened was it became, because it was so predictable and so well sort of researched, it could be repeated over and over and over and over and over by anyone because they could just follow his plan. This is how you make a cheeseburger in less than a minute. and it became, with the branding and the graphic design, it became an iconic thing. He sold this franchise to anyone who was willing to buy it, and it popped up everywhere. And that was because he created an easily repeatable system. And you can do that with content as well. So that you're not spent your entire life trying to think of the next thing to post on Facebook and pulling your hair out with the release schedule. If you run a YouTube channel, this is a big problem. I'm sure you know all about that, trying to get videos edited, and
yeah,
I'm sure you've gotten yourself into a proper routine now.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point now where I'm not even like, before I had to like really plan it. I'm like, right, I need to do this and this today. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And now I'm just like, it's become automatic because I've kind of found like a good system. I'm like, so the first thing to figure out is a good upload schedule. And I experimented with a bunch of different ones, 3 times a week.
Yep.
And I was like, maybe I could start doing, Monday through to Saturday. And then leave the Sundays for whatever special, like compilation or a weird game or something. But just a consistent thing, Monday through to Saturday. And then I ended up falling into a bit of a, here's 2 videos from one series, Monday, Tuesday. Here's a video from another series, Wednesday, Thursday. Here's another video. Here's another 2 videos from another series, Friday, Saturday. And the Friday, Saturday ones are a longer series. The Wednesday, Thursday ones are sort of a medium length series. And then the Monday, Tuesday ones are a little short series. So every Monday, Tuesday, you'll get a shorter game that you can finish in like a couple of weeks or whatever, or like a couple of parts. So yeah, you end up sort of, it's, I kind of picked that up from also, because I watch a lot of gaming YouTube channels, and I was having a look to see what other people were doing, especially like people who are uploading daily, seeing what things they were doing. So, yeah, man, it's just you just have to experiment, take your time with it, and eventually you find a groove. I mean, like, I found a groove for now. It could change, it could 100% like change completely, but it's one of those things. You'll find a groove, and you'll find a groove that works. And I kind of found the groove by also having a look at, I didn't sit and reinvent the wheel. Like, I had a look at other wheel designs, and I was like, that one looks like it could work for me. And then you go for that, and you see how you do on, you see how it works on your YouTube or whatever, or and on Instagram. And if you're finding that that's working, and it's working, you just keep doing it, because another part of it is just, once you've found that schedule, is keeping it up, right? Because that consistency will help you so much. If you're sitting and you're changing it about too often, and there's too many irregularities, too many things that are just too out there, like it's gonna be tricky. You're gonna find that it's gonna get
messy.
People are not gonna know what to expect. Not gonna know what you're gonna be doing.
That's the whole point in graphic design and consistency. Is it's you want your audience to know what to expect from you, quality wise. I mean, it's good to. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be so predictable that it's boring. But what I mean by that is you know what you're going to get from. I'll take games for example, right? How many games manufacturers, they start off with maybe a couple of games and they're absolutely amazing, and everyone has come to know that this company makes amazing games, and then they come out with something that's absolute garbage, a hot mess. I'll give you an example. You might remember in 2015 a little game called The Witcher 3, which was an absolutely amazing game, one of the best games ever. Everyone loves it. Everyone just played it and it was great. And they just released a game, same company released a game called Cyberpunk 2077, and it's been an absolute train wreck because of bugs, and it was released before it was finished. And that it flies in the face of this reputation of quality, quality content, and that has really hurt them as a company.
Yeah. Another one that came to mind, which is a bit of it's an older example, but it's the Legend of Zelda series. So the first game came out in like 1986, something like that. That's just called The Legend of Zelda. That's it. It came out, was a huge success, did really well, but they hadn't really figured out what the game was that they released. So they were like, we need to make another one. Let's do this. So they released Legend of Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, and it was kind of like, it was kind of okay, whatever. They released it, and then it kind of did so and so. And then Link to the Past came out in 1992, and then they found a groove there. And basically the games from 1992 up until 2020, basically, or like whenever the Breath of the Wild, when that come out, like 2017, something like that, have followed a very similar recipe, right? Almost like a very similar blueprint, and it's you kind of want that with your upload schedule on your Instagram and your music and your art. You want something you want that blueprint. It's kind of like that. That example you gave about McDonald's. It's that.
Like you might say, oh, it's terrible quality, blah blah blah. Yeah, but you know what you're to expect. When you go into McDonald's, you know exactly what you're going to get.
Exactly.
They're not promising the best hamburger in the world. That's not what their promise is. No. They just promise you a solid, reliable, fast meal. And it's going to be pretty much the same anywhere you go in the whole world. There's going to be some degree of change, but it's going to be mostly the same everywhere.
It's guaranteed to be the best thing you ever have at like 2 a.m. when you're driving back from a gig.
Absolutely, yeah. Totally. So that's kind of what we mean by like easily repeatable. The reason why you would want that is because it just makes your life a nightmare. You're just worrying about, I've got this schedule, this release schedule, or you're afraid of. I suppose it is FOMO a little bit. Your fear of missing out. There was another one. Fear. There's another type of FOMO, but it's slightly different. It's fear of not being included, which is kind of a thing as well. Kind of
Fonby.
Yeah. So fear of missing out is like you constantly have to be posting. You constantly have to be engaging, because you're afraid that if you don't, you'll be missed out, or you will be missing out in the fun. But fear of not being included is also a really bad thing, where you constantly are trying to be there so that people will include you in things. They like you constantly want to be part of the crowd. This is this can lead to burnt bridges and stuff, because you if you're constantly like blah 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 blah, constantly pushing your thing, constantly on Facebook, like, oh, my band, this is my band, then you start to alienate people. You know, you get the opposite effect. You know, you're trying to get people engaged, and it could end up doing the exact opposite of what you want. So I thought this sort of, actually what you do with the graphic designs, that's quite an important one, because I don't think you can underuse graphic design in your stuff. If there was an audience facing platform, so that's whatever the audience sees, front end, you call it front end. If there's anything pointing at eyes, it should be well designed, well graphically designed. And why not fit it and tie it in with your graphic designs you get for your album? You know, it just makes sense. It's just a obvious thing. I can't tell you how many times I've been on websites where it looks a certain way and it's fine, but then you move to another platform by the same company or band or whatever, and it's totally different. It just looks totally different. Like it's there's two different messages. It's all mixed messages. We talk about this a lot. You've got to keep it, you've got to keep the same message. So I think that's all I've got to say on this. So that's the 5 steps. We'll wrap up. So that the number 1, does it all look active? Make sure it's not dead content from 2 albums ago. Number 2, is the design language consistent throughout? Is it look like the same band on all platforms? Number 3, does it lead you somewhere? Is it a call to action? What are you using your graphic design to try and sell? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to sell your art. You're trying to get people to listen to your music. So what's it doing? What's the purpose of this? Give it a purpose. Number 4, is it unique and engaging? Is it kind of outside the box and a little bit more eye-catching? Well, that explains itself. It's got to be unique enough to be identified to yourself and your content. And number 5, is it easy enough to repeat in a sort of release schedule? You know, is it easy for you to maintain? Because it's all very well building this thing. You've got to try and maintain it. If it's too complicated and too time consuming, it's just going to be an absolute pain to you. So that's kind of wrapping up that topic. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, I think the one that is kind of most importance to me is a regular and easily repeatable, because you never want to become a slave to just content farming or whatever. You know, you don't want to just be putting things out all the time.
Yep.
And to the point where it's not interesting for the people who are watching it and it's driving you nuts.
Yeah.
You know, so just experiment, find something that works.
Yeah,
and roll with it and try different things out.
Yeah, totally.
If it's like once a week, you know, twice a month, something, you know, whatever, then it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, even the podcast, I do one a week. I just, with the length of podcasts we do, if we were to do like a daily podcast, that would take up most of my time. That'd be crazy. Once a month, I thought it's not enough. It's too little. When I first started doing the weekly thing, it felt like, oh, this is so much work. What am I doing? But once you get into the routine of, you know, edit the audio, edit the video, boom, 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 everything's all in its place, and it becomes second nature and really easy. At first, it can seem overwhelming, but I don't know. If you're the type of person that likes to jump into the deep end, do it. If you don't like jumping in the deep end, start with monthly. Move up to twice monthly, and then once weekly. And you can ramp it up. It just depends on your style. Yeah. Cool. So next week, I think we're going to do another band analysis, the rise and fall of.
Yeah. I've got a band in mind. I might have dropped them on the podcast where you were talking to Bradley. So you'll need to listen to that episode to even get an idea of what we're going to be talking about next week. And there you go. Sneaky. Anyway.
Yeah, so next week's episode will be episode 53, which I believe marks 1 full year of podcasts.
Wow.
53 episodes, exactly a year of Level Up Your Band. Mental. Most of it done under lockdown.
It's crazy.
Cool. So, as always, if you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts and Google, YouTube podcasts, and all the things, all the places that you listen to podcasts on. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also sign up on the website for various things. I think by the time this comes out, we will have another new worksheet out, following on from the recording, mixing, and mastering episodes from, I think it was 48, 49, something like that. It's the demystifying the recording studio series. I'm going to put up, it should be up by now, just some words and them decoded into English. So things like equalizer, compressor, gate, dynamics, all these buzzwords that you hear in studios and you don't know what they mean. Well, now you have a sheet telling you what they mean. High pass filter and all that stuff. Plain English. So that'll be up on the website. You can sign up there for free and you can get access to some downloadable PDFs just for a wee helping hand if you need it. Cool. So next week we're going to do another Rise and Fall of, and we'll let you know in due course what that's going to be. But until then, hope you have a great week and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.